Hi, what you see on your screen right now, this is the Google Chromecast Ultra, an AVR surround sound home theater system, and a fairly typical flat screen television. Welcome to our channel, all about home electronics, where in this video, regardless of which Google Chromecast you have, in this case we have the Ultra, we're going to show you how to properly connect the Google Chromecast Ultra to the back of an AVR surround sound system, and we're also going to show you a couple setting adjustments you may want to make to take full advantage of the features of the Google Chromecast Ultra. We're going to begin right after this. Okay, so what we did was we rotated the AVR around so that we can see the backside HDMI connectors. Now, as is the case in our example, there are a total of 6 HDMI ports. Chances are pretty good that your AVR will not have 6 HDMI ports, but we do need to explain which port to plug into so that you're plugging into the best port to take advantage of the features you're hoping to take advantage of. Here's what we mean. As with the example of the Google Chromecast Ultra, it says right here on the box that it'll output 4K HDR content. So in order to see that on a 4K compatible television, you'll have to plug the Google Chromecast Ultra into the correct one of these 6 ports, and we're going to explain that in greater detail right now. Now, as you can see with the Google Chromecast Ultra, they've provided an HDMI cable already connected. If you want to be able to view 4K content or higher, you're going to want to make sure that you're plugging into an HDMI port labeled input, because this is plugging into it, which happens to be capable of HDCP 2.2 or better. Those ports are capable of passing 4K video content up to your 4K compatible display. Now, if you're not plugging in a Google Chromecast Ultra and you happen to be plugging in a lesser, older Google Chromecast device, you can plug it into a non-HDCP 2.2 port, such as one of these two in our example AVR over here. But again, you can't expect to view 4K content, but it is entirely okay to do that. So in this particular case, we're not going to plug it into the output because we're going to demonstrate how to connect that to the television in just a moment. So that leaves us with these 3 HDMI ports right here. And we can plug it into any one of these 3 ports in our example AVR, because they're all compatible of HDCP 2.2. In this particular example, we'll go ahead and plug it into port number 1. You're going to want to remember which port number that you plug into, because when you spin your AVR around to the front, we'll have to set the AVR input to that port. Now, the next connection that we're going to make is from the AVR up to the television itself. And we'll notice in our example AVR, and this might be the case with your equipment, or maybe it's not, the output of our AVR is labeled ARC, Audio Return Channel. This is the only output on the back of our AVR, so we must plug into that to connect our television. Now in our example, we'll be using an HDMI cable that's labeled Premium High-Speed HDMI. Now that designation is important because if you do further research on HDMI, what you will find is the technology has evolved over time. Some older legacy HDMI cables might not have the capacity to transmit a 4K image up to your display if it's not labeled high speed, premium high speed, or ultra high speed HDMI cable. Most cables probably will transfer that video. However, if you do this and have problems and you're not getting 4K or better resolution, check your HDMI cable. So what we want to do is take our premium high-speed HDMI cable and line it up with the output and push it into place, making certain it's fully seated into the port. Now, we zoomed into the back connection ports on our television, and we happen to have 3 HDMI ports available. You might be able to tell this on your screen or maybe not. Our port labeled number 1 is also ARC, Audio Return Channel. This would be a good port to connect to on the TV because it would allow your television to control certain features of your AVR or other signals to go back and forth so long as you have them properly enabled within your respective devices. You won't necessarily need to connect to the ARC port, but chances are good the ARC port is the most feature-capable HDMI port, so in this case, we'll be plugging into it. Again, make sure the HDMI is fully seated into the port. And before you rotate your equipment back around, make sure you've plugged in the full appropriate power connector to the back of your Google Chromecast. Alright, as you can tell, we've rotated our AVR around to the front, and we're still showing the packaging for the Google Chromecast Ultra. We've turned our television on. You notice that we powered up our Google Chromecast before we rotated around. We need to turn our AVR on. Now you'll notice that our AVR says that it is set to HDMI port number 3, and that's not correct because you may recall we plugged the Google Chromecast into HDMI port number 1. On the face of our AVR, we're looking for what's called the input button, and we're going to back up 2 spots. And you can see with our example AVR, it shows up as the Chromecast. But on our TV, no picture is showing yet. We need to correct that by adjusting the input on the TV as well. Now we're going to take the remote control that actually comes with the TV and locate the input or source button. And in our example, it's labeled input. And we're going to press it until we find HDMI port number 1. And there you have it. The Google Chromecast screensaver picture shows up on the TV, which means everything is correctly connected and set up. Alright, and for our final tip with this video on how to connect a Google Chromecast Ultra to an AVR, we're going to recommend a setting that you'll want to check within your TV to make sure you're taking full advantage of this particular Google Chromecast Ultra's resolution. So again, taking the remote control that comes with the television, locate and press the menu button. Now in our case, we're going to scroll down and look for a menu item called Input Settings and select it. Next, we're going to scroll down to HDMI 1 and select it. You'll notice here it says Full UHD Color Off, but we want to turn that on. Now by turning it on, your TV will probably have to reset, but now when you're watching content that is in HDR and 4K or better, you're going to take full advantage of all the features built into your 4K or better compatible television. This concludes this video on how to connect Google Chromecast Ultra to an AVR surround sound home theater system. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments below the video. Here are a few video links we hope you might find useful. If you liked this video or it helped you, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe free to our channel. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.